Hello and welcome back to another video with me, Meoni, for Final Fantasy XIV and another new player guide. I'm sort of doing these off the cuff. I think they're a lot better when I just get to the point and talk about things. So without further ado, this one's about Grand Companies. So Grand Companies, basically at level 20, you'll have to choose. Throughout the main storyline, you'll choose one of 3 Grand Companies to represent on your character. Now, you choose between the Maelstrom, which is part of Limsa Lominsa, the Immortal Flames from Uldar, and the Order of the Twin Adder from Gridania. Whatever you choose dictates basically which way the storyline goes for you individually, but also doesn't have that many ramifications. It used to have ramifications in PvP because it used to dictate what side you were on in frontline PvP, but that since has been removed. Now you're just randomly placed into whatever group whenever you queue into that, so your Grand Company doesn't affect your PvP now. What it does affect then is where you go to get your to change your Grand Company seals from doing activities in the game such as fate events, hunting log, dungeons, Guild Hess, you name it. There are a lot of ways of getting company seals in the game, which is the currency that you get for your particular Grand Company. But it just changes where you go to exchange them and what rewards you can obtain. So if we, for example, go to the Immortal Flames at the moment, that's the one I'm currently set to, I've been all 3 Grand Companies. I can switch between these whenever I want to, just with basically a fee. At any time. It does retain your reputation rank that you previously had with that particular Grand Company. So I switched from Adder originally, so I'm still keeping my Adder reputation, which is much higher than the rest of them. And you'll see also here, I have a high reputation with Maelstrom as well. I've only recently switched to Immortal Flames to get some achievements and some minions, so I actually have a much lower rank. But if I wanted to switch back, I basically would just go back to a commander from Maelstrom Command or Adder's Nest or whatever, and I would talk to that person to be able to switch into their Grand Company instead. It's as simple as that. Other things you can get from your Grand Company then include weapons, armor, crafting materials, items for your relic weapons. There are relic quests. You can get many of them from your from company seals and from these vendors, actually of part of a Grand Company. The only thing that's really different between them is, of course, the style of the weapons and armor. You'll have serpent armor. You'll have serpent weapons. Those are usually, the weapons in particular that they have in the game are usually like a stained glass sort of green color. The Maelstrom have a red color, and as you probably would have imagined, the Maelstrom have, the Immortal Flames have like a sort of yellow and black sort of, Immortal Flames sort of thing, and they actually have the same sort of company crests on the front of a lot of that gear as well. So you'll notice that they're basically uniforms and unified armor sets with weapons as well. Some of them look really cool, so that might be something you want to consider. It's mostly superficial though, as all 3 Grand Companies do exactly the same thing. They just have a different hub in a different city-state. That's pretty much all it comes down to. And of course, those different looks to the weapon and armor. Other things you can get here include ventures, which you'll probably want to stock up on for your retainers. It's how you send retainers out on quick missions and whatever to level those up. So this is actually one of the highest sources of ventures in the game, is from Grand Company seals. So it's kind of one of those things that you work on passively and then exchange Grand Company seals when you're not using them for anything else for ventures. So there are other things you can do with your Grand Company. First of all, there's the Squadron System. Now, we've looked at that in a couple of other videos that I'll link in the description for you to have a look at. I did a full series on the Squadron missions and their dungeons. Essentially, squadrons, think of them like the trusts that, if you know what those are, in Shadowbringers. So a group of AI to help you through dungeons. Essentially, it's the same kind of thing. This was Square Enix's early attempt at that technology before trusts existed. So you actually recruit members of your squadrons and as essentially you can take them on command missions where you join them in dungeons. They're all NPC party members, and then there's you, and you can choose whatever role you want, and those level up alongside you. It's actually a really good source of experience gain, and it's quite good if you have, for example, a DPS that you just can't get a queue times for, and you don't want to do Palace of the Dead. This is a great alternative, and simply unlocking that throughout the course of ranking up in the squadron, in the Grand Company itself, will unlock squadrons eventually. Yeah, squadron missions are pretty good, but overall, the main reason you would want to do those is because you unlock a set of emotes, such as the squat emotes, the push-ups, etc. Those are actually obtained from doing so many runs of command missions, so it's not actually that difficult to do. Is there any real reason why you would want to do squadrons these days to max rank? Not especially, although you will need to rank them up if you want to attain a higher rank of captain of your Grand Company at this time, but there really isn't that many extra rewards for doing so. Other things then that you can definitely take part in, other ways of getting your company seals, include supply and provision missions. These are incredibly useful, so they'll have a list of things that they want you to deliver. These can include gathering items or even crafted items such as weapons or even like an axe, for example. They'll specify what they want you to deliver with whatever, if it's high quality or low quality, and you have a timer. So supply and provision missions actually reset every day at 9 PM server time in the game. You can access this under the timers section under the duty tab of the main menu at any time you want to, just to check on that. And they give an absolute ton of experience points, so this is another thing you might want to do for alt jobs. If you've done all your side quests and stuff accidentally or whatever, you want some XP, really good way of doing this. And it doesn't mean that you have to go and craft these things. Technically, if you have some gil, you could go to a market board and purchase the item outright that you would need to turn in. Just buyer beware that people do hike the prices for the items listed on that timer list in the duty tab, because obviously they want to make some gil from people like yourself that would perhaps be too lazy to craft it. Bear that in mind. Other things you can do then over here is for the mission section is the expert delivery missions. These are not timed, and basically anything in your inventory can be turned in for the most part for Grand Company seals. So this is one of your main sources of actually getting Grand Company seals. You just keep turning in gear. Bear in mind you want to assign your gear that you want to keep to a gear set before you actually do this, or keep a special eye on what pieces you're exchanging. There are some pieces of gear in the game you can exchange that cannot be redelivered from a Calamity Salvager, so you really want to be careful. But usually what I would do is I would turn in my the latest dungeon run's worth of gear. It's always worthwhile pressing need or greed on gear, regardless of if you need it or not, inside dungeons, because you can always get Grand Company seals, and if you're capped on seals, you can get ventures. It's as simple as that. If there's nothing else you want with seals, they still have a purpose, such as sending your retainers out. Retainers are one of the best sources of passive gil increase to your character, so that's what you want to do. Don't pass on any gear if possible. Roll on everything, come over here, exchange it for Grand Company seals, turn that into ventures, then send your retainers out. They'll bring back stuff that you might be able to sell for a higher value. That's my advice to you. That's what I would do, and that's what I do. You'll be surprised how much gil you can make from that. So other things apart from that include Grand Company leaves. These are things that you can find here around the world, actually, especially in like Kerfus, etc. These will give you company seals as well as experience, as well as items sometimes as well. So yeah, it's as simple as that. That's pretty much the lowdown of what a Grand Company provides you. As I said before, they used to give you PvP advantages for being on one side. It used to be Maelstrom heavy. The Maelstrom used to win all of the frontline PvP, at least on my data center, and the reason for that is because most people went that side. It was very imbalanced, and Square Enix, as a result, for everybody, made it so that when you queue into frontline PvP, it randomly distributes you to a Grand Company, so it's not necessarily your own. So there really isn't a massive reason to choose a Grand Company over another, apart from your own personal likes of maybe the armor or weapons available, and of course the leader. Maybe some of you agree with Raban more than they do with Carney, Senna, or Merylweb. I know for a fact, I would, personally. Raban's a badass. So there we go, that's pretty much all I can think of right now. But yeah, that's basically Grand Companies in a nutshell. They unlock through the course of your MSQ. You'll be introduced to them naturally. So if you're wondering how you join one, just sit tight and you will have everything explained to you in the storyline. Much love. Let me know if you've got any extra tips you want to give people. But that's my rundown of what a Grand Company is and what it offers. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.